The obvious question, Jason, after I say good morning, is why Ralph Krueger?
Well, I think going through this process, there was a lot of great candidates out there, but just had a comfort level in sitting down and talking with Ralph. He has a great presence to him. You can see right away he has that passion for teaching, but also the passion for the game of hockey. And you just look at his resume, you look at his background. He's got a history of going into difficult situations, challenging situations, and having success. He's coached at so many different levels, whether it's NHL, Olympics, World Championships, World Cup. We felt he was going to be a great fit for our group here.
When you mention the word resume, let's go back to the start of the process and where you thought you might be heading as far as how much experience you were hoping to have in your next head coach.
Well, we always talked about wanting someone to have that experience of being a head coach, whether it's in the National Hockey League or in other leagues. And when I sat down with Randy Sexton and Steve Greeley to sort of put a list together of all the people we wanted to at least do some background information on and to look as a possible candidate for the head coaching position, we wanted to make sure we covered everyone. So we certainly covered coaches that had previous NHL experience. We also had the opportunity to talk to different coaches who had no experience in the National Hockey League, whether it's American Hockey League or junior. But throughout the whole process, we felt Ralph's name kept on coming up and just a comfort level with Ralph.
How well do you know Ralph from all your years in the game, your family's years in the game, and his extensive worldwide resume?
Well, it's actually a very small world. My father was Ralph's, I think, 5th grade teacher back in Winnipeg. But to be honest, there wasn't a strong family connection with Ralph. But once I got the position here in Buffalo a couple of years ago, Jim Rutherford, who worked closely with Ralph in his days in Carolina, did recommend Ralph, and did have an opportunity to speak with him a couple of years ago. But the situation in Southampton at the time, he had the commitment there and wasn't able to leave. But we have stayed in touch over the years, and when this process began again in April here, had opportunity to sit down with him a few times, and it was very evident that Ralph had other opportunities with his unique resume, to go to different spots. But at heart, he's a Manitoba kid who loves the game of hockey, who is passionate about coaching, and felt very comfortable with the fit here.
The Carolina connection, he was a consultant for Jim, is that correct?
That's correct. So while Ralph was the head coach for Team Switzerland through the World Championships and Olympics, he also worked with Carolina as a scout for European.
Well, did he have any dealings with the then current Hurricane players, given that you have a former Hurricane in Jeff Skinner, and everybody is wondering how the new coach and Jeff Skinner may exist together?
No, and it's something that we've certainly talked a lot throughout this process of just our team. And one of the things that I really felt comfortable with Ralph is how he sees our team moving forward, our young players, how we want to play a game fit very well, and how Randy, Steve, and myself wanted to develop this team. And we've kept the dialogue going along with Jeff throughout this entire process. And obviously, if a player is going to sign a longer-term contract, he certainly wants to know who the head coach is going to be. And we'll get through the next couple of weeks here. Ralph will join me over in Europe next week and have a chance to sit down with Jack and Sam over there. And then once we get through the combine here, we'll have a chance to sit down with Jeff and his agents there and just sort of see how we are building this team moving forward and see if we can find a fit.
So when you were going through this process and you start talking with Ralph, at what point did it change for him that he was that much more interested in getting back into coaching, based on what he had said previously about a potential, if ever, return to the NHL, not likely being in that position?
Well, I think it's just whenever we've talked, it's always been about coaching, and there was always an interest there from a coaching standpoint. And once we got into dialogue, that was very evident that he was passionate about coaching. So in all our interactions with Ralph, it certainly come through that he was very intrigued by our situation here, very intrigued by our young stars, obviously, and Jack Eichel and Rasmus Dahlin, but just the other pieces that were being in place. And once he got a familiarity with myself, Randy Sexton, Steve Greeley, had a chance to sit down with the Pagulas, felt very comfortable with the personnel in this organization. He also felt it was going to be a good fit for him moving forward.
I think because of those comments that he had made previously, it led people to wonder if he gets hired here, would he have any responsibilities beyond head coach as far as how he fits within your hockey operations department?
No, it's you know, and that's where I feel very comfortable from a management group with the assistance of with Randy and Steve, and we've been talking a lot with Ralph. And look, we're going to communicate on everything. It's what a head coach and a GM does. And, well, player transactions, what we're going to be doing as a team. There's always going to be that communication level. And what really intrigues me is some of Ralph's previous experience here over at the Premier League, just tying in to get some of the resources that we have here through sports science, our support staff here. And I think Ralph is going to do an excellent job, not only from a player development standpoint, coaching our players on the ice, but utilizing all the resources that we have at our disposal here in Buffalo.
When you speak of player development and you look at the organization's depth chart and how you and your group have gone about trying to restock the cupboards, an awful lot of it is European prospects right now. Because of Ralph's experience globally, does that help in this regard based on trying to integrate guys when they're coming over to North America for the first time?
Without a doubt. And I think one of the things that we talked from the start of this entire process was the importance of communicating with young players, developing players, making that step from junior or Rochester up to National Hockey League, but also developing our players, whether it's Rasmus Dahlin, Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, at the National Hockey League level. And I think you'll realize once you start talking with Ralph, communication is one of his strengths. Mm-hmm. He does have that presence right away, but communication, I think, is one of his strong, attributes, and not just himself, just with the entire staff and getting the same message across to the players.
The players, last one. What do you think they'll recognize and appreciate right away when, as a group, they gather together for the first time?
Well, I think you're just going to see right away the passion. I mean, you sit down with Ralph, he is very motivated, brings a lot of enthusiasm to any job that he takes on. And he's ready for this challenge and ready to get things going. And I think our players, when they first sit down with Ralph, they're going to feel that. And I hope that energizes them too moving forward here.
Thank you for the time today.
Thank you.